Okay, we're going to pull this wheel off. Got it jacked up to the truck right now, or hooked up to the truck right now. What I have back here, this is the wheel I'm going to pull off. Is I've got a scissors jack under there. Also, since this sits off the ground a ways, you need to elevate it, the jack. So I've got a couple of blocks underneath there. Okay, so first thing, we'll bust the lug nuts. And now we can jack it up. Okay, just a little bit more. We're off the ground already, but just a little bit more. Okay, hit it. There we go. Okay, I'm going to give it a little bearing pull check. Looking for some play here. That feels pretty good. So we'll take the wheel off. Brake sounds alright. This with a screwdriver and hammer. Tap this cap off. Okay, so what we're going to do next is wipe some of this grease off of here. And get the cotter pin removed. Straighten this out as best we can. Here it comes. Alright, that won't get reused. So now we can go ahead and turn this big nut out. The bearing retainer. Set this down in a clean spot. Okay, there comes the bearing. Okay, I'm going to have a look at the, as long as we've got it apart this far, let's have a look at the brakes. And there's certainly, brake pad or brake shoe left on there. And this inside bearing, there's a seal here that's pressed in. So to remove this bearing, we're going to have to pull the seal out. Okay, I've decided to repack these bearings, being that they're in good shape yet. And so let's put new grease in there. But one of the problems with getting this inner one out is removing this grease seal that's on the outside. I came up with a technique, and I done this years ago. I just cut a washer in half. And it's got to be, the right size here to fit underneath the seal. What I do then is slip it under there. And the purpose here is to get this seal out intact. So we slip one half there, slip the other half of this washer on the other side. Now what we're going to do is flip this over. And I'll go get a socket that'll fit in there. It'll fit right on those two washers, and then just tap the seal out. There's our grease seal. And out comes the inner bearing. So clean everything up, repack, and reinstall. Well, I got my my seal out intact. No harm done with my push-out method, force-out method that you just witnessed. So we'll clean it up along with the bearing. Get all the old grease off, of course. And then we'll pack it back, pack some fresh grease in there. And of course, make sure you clean the drum out, clean all the surfaces, the races. I should mention also that I use brake parts cleaner on the inside of this drum to get that old dust out of there, which is potentially dangerous to breathe. It's been quite a few years since I packed bearings. When I've done them in the past, I did the old hand packing method where you stick the grease in the palm of your hands and push it through. Well, you know what? There's some better ways now. And I found this inexpensive bearing packer. Really kind of a three-piece device here at Napa. And it has a threaded rod here with a little bearing, or a little grease nipple on it. And then it has two cups. Bottom cup, as you can see, doesn't go through. Top cup. So then you feed your packer, your rod in there. And I think the principle is, if you can see the little hole in the bottom there, you want to get that to where it's cleared the inside of the funnel. Then you slip your bearing in here like so, and turn the bottom on tight. Get that bottomed out in there. Alright, it's bottomed out, tight. Okay, we're going to take our packer out for a spin here. Our grease gun, fit it on there. Just need some grease start to come through there. Okay, there it comes. So you can see it, the old grease popping out evenly through the bottom. I think that's what you want. See the black grease popping out of there. Let's keep going until we get clean grease popping out of there. Still more black grease. Okay, we're still forcing out the old grease. Putting a lot of grease in there. Now you can see it coming out now between the individual bearing, the little moving cylindrical pieces. Let's take this off. Let's have a look inside. So there it is. Yeah, it's like a piece of art. I think I pushed a lot of good grease out of there, though. It looked dark inside there, but actually it wasn't. So this thing really works. I mean, this is kind of neat. I'll just clean off some of the old grease. And I think we've packed her full. Set it aside and then we'll do the other one. I won't show that. This thing is a raging success. Okay, now that the bearings are repacked, we're just going to put a little grease on the contact surfaces in here, on the races, and on the surface where the bearing seal goes. We'll also grease up the bearing seal itself, inside and outside, so it'll slip in there a little easier. Okay, now we're satisfied that we've got some grease inside of here. We'll put our repacked inner bearing back in position. At this point, we can stick the seal back in. What I'm going to do with this, it's got a big washer here. I'm going to just tap this into place. So it seats flush. And that's back flush. Okay, now that we have the inner bearing in there, what we want to do then is fill up the cavity that remains with some more grease. Work it in there a little bit so that it fills up the open spaces. Okay, we're getting ready to put this together, so let's get put a little grease on the mating surface here for the bearings. And we'll slip our drum back on. next comes the bearing, outer bearing, and then this washer, and finally our castellated nut. This, by the way, on this one is 1.5 inches. What I've got here is a crescent wrench. This particular one is big, it's 1.5 inches. So I'm going to just seat it and back off, spin it, seat it, back off. And when it's seated, I'm just going to back off a little bit to where a hole lines up here, where the cotter pin to slide through. So you got nice free turning here. Do not over torque that. And then we'll simply install and splay our cotter pin. Okay, then we display this here. Okay, and then it's back on with the protective cap. Should be fine. Okay, so we're all done with this bearing. This, by the way, methinks is an excellent opportunity to rotate in the spare tire. It's sitting back there lazing around for 3 years for me on the back of the bumper. So I'll get this all wheel installed, get her back on the ground, and move on to the second of 4 of these to do. Okay, we're off and rolling on another camping trip. Thanks for watching this video.